CEO MOCKS janitor, discover his incredible hidden tennis skill that changes everything forever. James stood in the expansive lobby of the corporate headquarters, the marble floors gleaming under bright fluorescent lights. He could hear the sounds of laughter and chatter from the executives in their lavish offices above him, blissfully ignorant of the man stooping over to polish the floor beneath their feet. He brushed off the mocking glances from people like Mr. Blake, the CEO, who strutted around like a peacock, believing that his wealth defined his worth. Yet James held on to a secret pride, smiling at the shiny reflection of his determined face as if the floors he cleaned were mirrors of his own self-respect that he cleaned with love, knowing that his job allowed him to provide for Mia, his brilliant 12-year-old daughter. Some would think it was mundane, but for James, the quiet moments were treasures. Every Saturday, they met at the local park, where the familiar scent of fresh-cut grass filled the air, and the sound of tennis balls echoed like whispers of dreams. Mia would serve, he would return, effortlessly, each rally a chance to bond over their shared passion, but something loomed ahead. Through Mr. Blake's relentless demand for perfection, the gnawing divide between their worlds was laid bare. Class judgments were seeping into the cracks of James's heart. It didn't sting when he overheard Mr. Blake laugh about him like he was just another potted plant. Not until that day when the annual charity tennis tournament was announced. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That Saturday, James was helping Mia refine her serve when he unleashed a powerful backhand shot that caught the attention of onlookers. Mr. Blake stood in the distance, arms crossed, the disbelief on his face almost comical. He mocked James's presence, sensing a chance to put down the janitor. Isn't it cute? The janitor thinks he can play tennis, he jeered, and laughter rippled through the crowd. James's heart sank. Would they see him for anything more than a cleaner, who scrubs floors and shadows them in the hallways? Still, in that moment of ridicule, a flicker of hope radiated through Mia's eyes. To her, he was more. She stood there, fists clenched, her stomach filled with determination. She knew her dad needed to remember who he was, the man who taught her strength, resilience, and love. As the tournament day arrived, fate turned a cruel trick. A player backed out, and they needed James a temporary replacement. Facing Mr. Blake, that same smirk spread across his face, taunting. A battle brewed in the pit of James's stomach. He could rise to the occasion or shrink back into the shadows. The stakes shot up as tension electrified the air. Just as James grasped his racket tightly, preparing to calm his racing heart, a voice rang out from the bleachers. "You got this, James." It was a family member, and that small act pulsed through him, igniting a fire of purpose. Would he rise and reclaim his dignity, or walk away defeated? Standing at the precipice of that moment, James could feel the eyes of the crowd weighing on him. Would they finally see him? Would he finally see himself? As the whistle blew, James stepped onto the court. The sun was bright, piercing through the scattered clouds, and it bathed the scene in an overwhelming glow. This was more than just a game. It felt bigger than the concrete floor he swept every day, larger than the dismissive chuckles from Mr. Blake and his cronies. This was a moment, a chance to shatter the glass ceiling that separated a janitor from a CEO, a father from a role model. James gripped his racket tightly, the familiar weight easing his nerves. He remembered every Saturday spent teaching Mia, their laughter intertwined with the soft thwack of the ball. Each rally now echoed in his mind like a mantra: you belong here. The spectators' eyes were locked onto him, some with disbelief, others with curiosity. Mr. Blake stood opposite him, radiating an air of arrogance. "Let us see what you've got, janitor," he taunted, but it only fueled the fire within James. He breathed deeply, focusing on the rhythm of the match. As the first serve shot over the net, James moved with precision, the years of practice dancing in his muscles. The game unfolded. Each swing of his racket felt like a release, a moment of defiance against the judgments he had endured. The first point went to Mr. Blake, laughter bubbling from the crowd as they piped up with jabs, but James didn't falter. With every rally, his confidence surged. He discovered a rhythm in the game that transformed his nervous energy into sheer determination. He scored point after point, surprising everyone including himself. The more he played, the more he felt not just like a competitor, but a conquering hero stepping out from the shadows. "This is for you, Mia," he thought, visioning his daughter's beaming face among the crowd. Mia watched with wide eyes, her heart swelling with pride. She could see the glimmer of a champion breaking through her father's rough exterior. For the first time, the crowd united in a buzz of excitement, cheering not just for a player but for a man reborn in front of their eyes. "Go, Dad!" she yelled, and her voice rang clear above the mocking laughter that once filled the air. James felt a rush as he hit an impressive backhand, sending the ball whizzing across the court. The ball landed neatly within the lines, and a ripple of shock washed through the crowd. For a brief moment, silence fell. But with every volley, there came Mr. Blake's relentless ego. "You think this makes you special? You're just making a fool of yourself," he sneered, trying to re-establish his dominance. As the match continued, James's resolve hardened. No longer was he just fighting for points, he was fighting to prove his worth. Each hit was a declaration, a point scored not just on the scoreboard but against judgment and stereotypes. The tide began to turn as the score drew closer. James could feel the energy shifting, doubt melted away with every rally. He was drawing on Mia's cheers, the hope shining bright in her eyes, lifting him higher. Finally, with one last deep breath, he set up for the final serve, every nerve alive with anticipation. Would this be the moment that changed everything? Would he not just triumph in the match, but in life? Would the world finally see him for who he truly was? With a powerful swing, James let his racket fly. What happened next could flip everything on its head. The crowd gasped, anticipation thick in the air. Would he ace it, or would the moment shatter like glass? The ball soared high, slicing through the air as time seemed to stretch. James felt a jolt of power surging through him, his body honed by years of practice, every muscle ready for this pivotal moment. He watched as the ball arced, the crowd holding its breath. This was it. This was his time. The racket connected crisply. The sound echoed a short, sharp noise that punctuated the tension in the air. The ball shot over the net with blazing speed, zipping past Mr. Blake. The impact was electric. It rocketed into the corner of the court, landing just in. James could hardly believe it. The crowd erupted, their cheers drowning out the bitter sneers that had once filled the arena. Game point. The referee shouted, and James was on fire. Mr. Blake's expression shifted from arrogant confidence to bewildered disbelief. He shook his head, as if trying to will the reality back into his favor. James felt a thrill. Here he was, battling against a force that had long overshadowed him, and now he was holding his own. Releasing a wave of adrenaline, he prepared for the next serve, a surge of confidence igniting within him. Mia's cries of encouragement floated through the din, a bright beacon cutting through the noise. "You can do it, Dad!" she shouted, her tiny hands raised in excitement. Her faith fed his spirit. The next rounds blurred together, quick serves, tense rallies, and moments of sweat-soaked concentration. The scoreboard ticked on, each point weaving a tapestry of determination. Before long, the score was even, and the cheers turned from whispers of disbelief into roaring support. Now, every hit was robust, defiant, each delivered against the doubts that had plagued him. Mr. Blake took a deep breath, his facade cracking. "You're lucky today, janitor," he spat, but there was a tremor in his voice. He was slipping, struggling to keep up with this new James, one who refused to back down. As the last point approached, James could feel the world narrowing to just him and that ball. He wiped the sweat from his brow, steadying his breath as he focused. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned everything: the years of practice, the love for his daughter, the need to prove himself. He served again, the ball a blazing comet streaking over the net. This time, it was not the individual strokes that mattered, it was the heart behind each one. James charged forward, ready to respond, prepared for whatever Blake threw at him. But to his surprise, Blake faltered. Instead of a strong return, he swung carelessly, sending the ball off course. It sailed out of bounds. Silence fell once more, then chaos erupted with cheers and shouts. He did it. James sank to his knees, disbelief mingling with triumph. He had done it. But just as victory washed over him, a strange flicker of doubt ignited in his chest. Had this moment truly changed everything? He glanced toward Mia, her smile brighter than the sun. She was the embodiment of hope, the promise of a better tomorrow. Yet shadows of doubt lingered in the corners of his mind. Would this win really alter the trajectory of their lives? Will anyone truly see me, or am I just a flash in the pan? He wondered, the question heavy in the air. As he stood to face the crowd, the thunder of applause still resounding, he caught a glimpse of Mr. Blake, anger etched deep into his features. The bitterness of defeat was palpable. What would happen next? Would this victory bring change, or was it merely the beginning of a greater battle yet to come? James could sense it. Something was shifting, and he was on the brink of discovering just how powerful that change could be. As the excitement in the arena began to settle, James felt the weight of his victory start to sink in. The adrenaline coursing through him morphed into a sweet fatigue, but the buzz surrounding him was electric. Fans surged around, their cheerful faces urging him to celebrate, to embrace this moment. James looked for Mia in the crowd, needing to ground himself in the warmth of her smile. She was beaming, her joy radiating and pulling him from the brink of uncertainty. He felt his heart fluttered as he waved to her. But another glance toward the other side of the court reminded him of Mr. Blake's seething fury. The man who had wielded power with a smugness for far too long was now a shadow of bitterness. The satisfaction of his triumph felt bittersweet when he thought of the battle still to come. "Congratulations," a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Coach Ramirez, his mentor, walking toward him with a proud smile. "You really showed your grit out there. I knew you had it in you." "Thanks, Coach," James replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The recognition lifted him like being pulled from the depths into the light. "Just remember, every victory comes with its own challenges," Coach added, his expression turning serious. "Blake won't take this lightly. He's going to come after you." James clenched his jaw. Fear of the inevitable was creeping back, hiding just behind the elation. "I get that. It's just, today felt different." "Good. Ride that wave," Coach said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Focus on building momentum, not just for you, but for Mia. Every small win counts." Determined not to let doubt cloud his thoughts, James turned to the crowd, taking in the faces that had once looked down on him. They were cheering for him now, their energy flowing through him. He caught glimpses of the other parents, their respect slowly starting to emerge. Maybe today's victory was more than just a game, maybe it was a shift in perspective. As the crowd began to disperse, James felt that old familiar pang of confusion return. Winning was exhilarating, yes, but what did it mean for Mia? For their life together? The thought gnawed at him. Mia broke through the throng, her tiny legs running toward him, arms open wide. He knelt, enveloping her in a bare hug, his heart swelling with pride. "Did you see that? I won!" he exclaimed, unable to hide his enthusiasm. "I knew you could. You're the best, Dad." She beamed with all the innocence of a child who truly believed in her superhero. But as they pulled apart, he hesitated. "But what does it really change, Mia?" he asked, the question slipping out before he could stop it. "Everything," she insisted, her eyes sparkling. "You showed everyone how amazing you are. You're not just a janitor. You're a champion." Her words echoed, and for a moment, James assimilated their weight. Could this be a tipping point? He wanted to believe her. He wanted to seize the magic of this moment and bottle it for every other day to come. Okay, he agreed, forcing a smile. Let us celebrate together. As they walked away from the court, the cheering faded, and a cloud hung in the air. An undercurrent of challenges yet to face shimmered ominously beneath the surface of his joy. James caught sight of Mr. Blake storming away, rage palpable even from a distance. "What's that look?" Mia asked innocently, glancing back. "Just thinking about what comes next," he said, a plan forming in his mind. As he held her hand tighter, he knew deep down that this was just a battle won in a much larger war. With each step away from the arena, James felt uncertain, but also determined. Was victory just the beginning of a new fight? And would he have the courage to meet it head-on, not just for himself, but for Mia? Those questions echoed in his heart as they made their way home, unsure of what the new day would bring. The streets were quieter now, the echoes of celebration slowly melting into the night. James held Mia's hand tightly, her small fingers warming his palm. Each step he took felt heavier, weighed down by thoughts of Mr. Blake and the uncertain future. "What do you want for dinner?" he asked, trying to shift his focus to something happier, something light. "Pizza," Mia chirped, her whole face lighting up at the prospect. Her enthusiasm was contagious, momentarily pushing aside the shadows crowding his mind. "Pizza it is, then," he smiled, looking down at her. She was so carefree, so innocent. His job was to protect that joy, to shield her from the storm that was brewing on the horizon. As they turned the corner to their favorite pizzeria, the familiar smell of melted cheese and fresh dough enveloped them. The bright lights glowed like a warm invitation. They stepped inside, and instantly the chatter of families filled the air, laughter punctuated by the clinking of glasses. James took a moment to breathe it all in. He watched Mia as she rushed over to the arcade in the corner, the sounds of video games echoing and blending with the delightful scent of pizza. A part of him longed for her innocence to remain untouched amidst the chaos his life had become. 2 slices of pepperoni. James called out to the counter, waving to the waitress as he settled into a booth. He leaned back, allowing himself a brief moment of peace. But images of Mr. Blake's anger loomed like dark clouds. "Dad!" Mia's voice pulled him from his reverie. She bounced over, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "I beat the high score." "Way to go, champ," he said, his pride swelling again. She danced in place, her joy radiating. Just as the waitress set their pizza down, James's phone buzzed violently on the table. He picked it up, his stomach twisting as he recognized the number. It wasn't Coach Ramirez. It was Mr. Blake. "Are you going to answer it?" Mia asked curiously, tilting her head. James hesitated. "Not right now," he replied. He wanted to protect her from the weight of that looming conversation. He focused instead on the slice in front of him, its cheesy goodness making his mouth water. "Mia, this one's for you." He took a slice of pizza and placed it on her plate. "Thanks, Dad," she said cheerfully, devouring the slice like it was a reward for her victory at the arcade. But as he watched her, he couldn't shake off the nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach. There was a storm on the horizon, and he knew deep down that ignoring it wouldn't make it go away. As they finished their meal, James finally answered Mr. Blake's call, heart pounding against his ribcage as he pressed the phone to his ear. "James," Mr. Blake's voice boomed across the line. "We need to talk." "Yes, we do," James replied, gathering his courage. "I'm ready." He glanced at Mia, who was blissfully unaware of the weights pressing down on him. Even amidst his fears, a flicker of determination ignited within him. He would fight for her sake, even if it meant stepping into the ring with his biggest rival. As he hung up, he couldn't help but wonder what Mr. Blake had up his sleeve. Would this be the moment he had to redefine everything they'd fought for? "Dad, can we play a game before we go home?" Mia's voice brought him back to the present. Of course, he smiled with renewed resolve. But deep inside, he felt a chill as he pondered what this meeting might ultimately cost him. A battle was coming, and this time, it wasn't just on the court. Would he be able to protect Mia's dream and his own in the face of the storm approaching? The question loomed ominously, casting a long shadow over the remainder of their night. The arcade lights flickered as Mia dashed back to the game, pumping her little fists in the air. James watched her, a wave of love washing over him, mixed with the anxious tension about Mr. Blake's call. His heart felt heavy with the weight of expectations, the looming doubts threatening to darken this perfect evening. Level up. Mia squealed, her eyes sparkling as she stepped toward her next challenge. The sound of the game blared, and for a moment, the noise drowned out everything else. James tried to focus on her laughter, to memorize the way her whole face lit up when she scored extra points. It was a reminder of what he was fighting for. He leaned back in the booth, allowing himself to recall the good memories. Friday night pizzas, endless laughter, the bond they shared. But beneath that happiness, anxiety twisted at the back of his mind. He couldn't ignore that Mr. Blake's call was coming from a place of great complexity. They weren't just discussing basketball, they were discussing futures. "Hey, Mia." James called out as she prepared to throw a handful of tokens into another machine. Her head whipped toward him, her expression expectant. "Yeah. What if I told you I used to be pretty good at tennis in high school?" She scrunched her nose, disbelief written all over her face. "Really, Dad? You? Tennis?" James laughed, a brittle sound. "Just maybe not as good as you are at these games," he admitted, watching her. "But I had skills." "Prove it." She challenged, raising an eyebrow, as if he were about to challenge the high score in real life. The pure joy in her voice pierced through the darkness swirling in his thoughts. "Okay, maybe one day," he said, holding back a chuckle as he thought about how far they were from a tennis court. He wanted to channel that playful banter into something stronger than the looming darkness ahead. The way she looked at him, so trusting, made him feel like a superhero, but even superheroes need to face their fears. Mia returned to her game, her laughter spilling into the air, but James's smile faded as he remembered the conversation with Mr. Blake would happen soon. Too soon, the waitress arrived with their bill, breaking the bubble of lightness that shrouded him. Mia stopped mid-game to lean into James, her small frame resting against him. "What's wrong, Dad?" He exhaled slowly. "Nothing, just thinking about some work stuff," he said, unsure how much to share. She looked up at him with those big, innocent eyes. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" He wanted to tell her everything, to lay bare the fears and realities that threatened to pull him under. But he also wanted to protect her spirit, her joy. "Yeah, I know," he replied softly, ruffling her hair. They left the pizzeria, stepping out into the crisp night air. Stars twinkled overhead, and the street was bathed in a gentle glow. James took a deep breath, letting the chill ground him a bit, trying to cling to those small moments of peace. Mia glanced up at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Can we have another pizza tomorrow?" "Of course," he replied, the tension momentarily easing from his shoulders. "Then it's a pizza date," she proclaimed, hopping ahead, her laughter ringing like a sweet melody in the night. But as they walked to the car, the phone buzzed in his pocket again, a reminder of Mr. Blake's looming presence. Would tomorrow bring more than just pizza? The nagging thought hung like a storm cloud over him. James knew that soon, the brilliance of their little night would collide with the harsh melodies of reality. The battle was approaching fast. And he wondered, as he watched Mia run ahead, what sacrifices he would need to make to keep her dreams alive. And would he be ready to face Mr. Blake and his demands, knowing the stakes were higher than just basketball? The thought left him breathless as they reached the car. What awaited him in that conversation would not just define his future, but Mia's too. "What are we waiting for, Dad?" she called, her voice breaking him from his reverie and pulling him back into the moment. He smiled and squeezed her hand tight. "Nothing, sweetheart. just gearing up for what comes next. As they drove toward home, James couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away from him. What if he had to sacrifice something bigger than he thought? That question hung in the air, and now it felt more real than ever. The drive home felt longer than usual, the silence heavy despite the gentle hum of the engine. James could feel the weight pressing down, thoughts swirling around like leaves caught in a gust of wind. Mia hummed softly next to him, her small fingers drumming on the edge of her seat, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering in his heart. "Mia, what do you think it means to really strive for something?" he asked, the question spilling out before he fully formed the thought in his mind. He was searching, hoping her innocent wisdom could somehow illuminate the path he felt was so dark. Her head turned, a frown creasing her forehead. "Like when you want to win, Dad? Like when I want to beat my high score?" Her eyes sparked with determination. "I have to practice, right?" "Yeah, exactly," he said, encouraged by her straightforwardness. "But what if that practice means you have to sacrifice something else, something you really love?" Mia pondered, her gaze drifting out the window as the streetlights flickered by. "That's tough. But if it's for something really important like winning a tournament or something, maybe it's worth it." Her words struck a chord. It felt like a gentle nudge, reminding him of how he too was grappling with the weight of choices. What was he willing to sacrifice for Mia? For their future? When they arrived home, she hopped out of the car with the energy only a child could muster, darting toward the door, leaving James in the chill of the evening. He took a moment to watch her, that little ball of enthusiasm ready to bounce into the warmth of home. "Dad!" Mia called, poking her head back out. "You coming?" "Yeah, I'm right behind you," he replied, forcing a smile as he stepped into the house. The cozy atmosphere wrapped around him, a stark contrast to the tension flooding his mind. Inside, Mia bounded toward the kitchen while James lingered in the living room. He felt lost, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. As he pulled off his jacket, he noticed the family pictures lining the walls, frozen moments of laughter that seemed to fade with every anxious thought creeping in. "Pizza's ready," Mia yelled, pulling him back from his thoughts. She had already set the table, and the scent of melted cheese mingling with tomato sauce wafted through the air. "Looks delicious," he said, joining her at the table and feeling a flicker of warmth in his chest. They settled down, the conversation flowing easily, filled with laughs about their arcade adventures and silly impressions of game characters, but even as Mia spoke, James's thoughts drifted back to Mr. Blake. Tomorrow's phone call loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to wash away the sunniest moments of their evening. "What if I told you there's a way for you to reach your dreams that doesn't feel so heavy?" he finally asked, casting her a sidelong glance. Her eyes widened, curious and wide. "Really, Dad? Like what?" He hesitated, weighing the implications of his words. What could a simple conversation unravel? Just choices and paths, you know. Mia leaned in closer, her infectious excitement compelling him. "Tell me. I want to know all about it." Her enthusiasm lit a flame inside him, urging him to dare to explore a new path, a possibility he hadn't let himself think about before. But before he could reply, his phone buzzed again, a sharp reminder of the impending conversation with Mr. Blake. "What's that?" she asked, a little frown reappearing on her face, sensing the change in atmosphere. "Just work stuff," he said, hiding his unease. Mia's expression softened. "It'll be okay, Dad. You're a superhero. I believe in you." Her innocent trust was a gentle slap of reality, stirring something deep within him. But could he truly juggle everything? Would being a superhero mean sacrificing his own dreams for hers? As the night wore on and laughter filled the room, James couldn't escape the feeling that they were on the brink of something incredibly significant. He wanted to protect her, to ensure she reached for the stars, but at what cost? And just when he thought he had a grasp on the future, the phone buzzed one more time, making his entire body tense. He picked it up, staring at the blinking screen, and felt his heart race. What lay ahead could alter the course of both their lives forever. Would he be ready to take the plunge when the moment came? James stood by the table, his heart pounding as he looked at the notification on his phone. The name blinking on the screen sent shivers down his spine, Mr. Blake. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, but there was no escaping the weight of what tomorrow held. Dad? Mia's voice cut through his thoughts and he met her gaze. Are you okay? Yeah, just thinking about work. He forced a smile, but the tightness around his chest didn't ease. She smiled back, her innocence a comforting balm against his anxiety. I'm going to try for a high score tomorrow. Can we practice together? Of course, he replied, pushing down the swell of worry that threatened to overwhelm him. Yet, deep down, as much as he wanted to encourage her dreams, he couldn't help but feel like he was teetering on the edge of a chasm himself. After dinner, they moved to the living room. Mia dashed off to grab her game controller, her laughter echoing through the house. James sank into the couch, the fabric cool against his skin. He tried to replay the evening's joy in his mind, wiping away the clouds that had settled there. But even as Mia prattled on excitedly about her strategies and new character moves, he couldn't shake his sense of impending doom. Dad! Look at this! Mia's sudden outburst broke through his reverie. She was standing by the TV, and as he looked up, his breath caught in his throat. She had figured out a new combo for a special move in the game. He marveled at her unbridled enthusiasm, the way her face lit up in triumph. It reminded him of a time long ago when he, too, had felt invincible, chasing dreams like fireflies in the night. That's awesome, sweetheart. He felt pride swell in his heart. But watching her, he couldn't help but wonder, would she always see life this way? So passionately. So fearless. Thanks. I can teach you if you want. She bounded to him, her energy infectious. James chuckled, maybe I'll get some pointers, but I think you're way ahead of me. He admired her determination, and with it came a surge of hope. She was the embodiment of what it meant to strive, to reach beyond. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again, this time vibrating steadily on the coffee table. He glanced down, his gut clenching. Dad? Mia asked, her joy dimming as she noticed his expression. What's wrong? Nothing. Just work stuff, he replied, his voice shaky. Can I help? Would it help if I did a little victory dance? She hopped in place, her little arms flaring out, creating an impromptu celebration that made him chuckle despite himself. You know what, yes. That would help great deal. He said, feeling the veil of tension lift, if only slightly. As Mia danced, James realized how crucial it was for him to nurture that spark in her. He couldn't let his worries steal her joy. He wanted to be the kind of superhero she believed he was, one who fought for their dreams, both hers and his. Later, as they settled down to prepare for bed, James tucked Mia in, her sleepy smile illuminating the dim room. I love you, sweetheart. Never forget how strong you are, he whispered. I love you too, Dad. You got this, she mumbled back, eyes fluttering closed. With each heartbeat, anxiety coursed through him like a torrent. He knew tomorrow would bring challenges. Not just in his conversation with Mr. Blake, but in balancing his own dreams against the avalanche of what-ifs that loomed ahead. But just as hope flickered, he felt a small spark stir deep within him. Maybe he could find that balance, that middle path he had been searching for. Could this lead him back to a world where he, too, could strive without the heavy burden of sacrifice? As he turned off the lights, his phone buzzed once more, this time a reminder of the call with Mr. Blake. His heart raced, navigating a maze of emotions. What if tomorrow opened a door he had never expected? Would he finally find clarity, or would he step further into the chaos? The night felt heavy, thick with anticipation as James lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The shadows seemed to whisper secrets he wasn't ready to hear. His heart wouldn't rest, ricocheting between hope and fear like a pinball. What if tomorrow became a turning point? Or, worst case, a dead end? He couldn't afford to think like that he glanced over at Mia's bedroom door. It was slightly ajar, just enough for him to see the faint glow from her nightlight, casting a serene yellow hue across the hallway. She was safe, dreaming unbothered by the complexities of adulthood. That image warmed him, giving him a moment of solace amid the brewing storm in his mind. Eventually, sleep claimed him, though his dreams were restless and shadowy, filled with images of Mr. Blake's stern face, half filled with judgment and half with an unfathomable expectation. When morning came, sunlight poured through the window like a taunt, bright and unyielding. James dragged himself upright, feeling every ounce of fatigue clinging to his bones. Through a fog of uncertainty, the familiar sounds of Mia bustling through the morning routine filled the house. The clatter of her cereal bowl hitting the table was a welcome distraction from his racing mind. She bolted into the living room with a big grin plastered on her face. "Dad! Guess what?" she shouted, bouncing on her toes. "What is it, kiddo?" he asked, trying to muster enthusiasm despite his internal chaos. "I got the highest score in practice last night." Her wide eyes sparkled with sheer joy, and her excitement was contagious. "I knew I could do it because you believed in me." James felt emotion swell inside him. He blinked back tears. This was the reason he wanted to fight through the chaos, to show her that dreams mattered. "You're incredible, Mia," he exclaimed, pulling her into a warm hug. "I'm so proud of you." After breakfast, as she rushed to get ready for school, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at the screen, just a reminder about the meeting. However, instead of dread, a flicker of resolve sparked within him. He would face Mr. Blake today, not just as a fearful employee but as a father who had to lead by example. He needed Mia to see him fight for what he believed in, regardless of the outcome. "Hey, Mia," he called out, his voice steadying. She popped her head around the corner. "Let's do a quick victory dance before you go." "What? Now?" Her face lit up, disbelief warring with delight. "Yeah. I want to celebrate your achievement." And before she could respond, he started shuffling awkwardly, mimicking a dance step he wished he had perfected long ago. Mia giggled at his goofy moves, her laughter filling the house with a lightness he longed to hold on to. She joined in, and soon the living room transformed into a warm and silly celebration of pure innocence and joy. With every move, James felt his worries dissipate, replaced with the resilience they were creating together. Just a few minutes of shared joy gave him the strength he needed. As the clock ticked closer to his meeting, he felt himself renewed. Maybe facing Mr. Blake wouldn't just be about the job, it was also about showing Mia what courage looked like. Confidence surged through him like a shot of adrenaline. "Okay, sweetheart," he said as they finished dancing. "Time to get you off to school." Mia rushed for the door, her backpack bouncing against her back. "You've got this, Dad. Remember, you're a superhero." "I will," he called after her, a smile breaking through his earlier apprehension. As the door clicked shut behind her, James took a deep breath. He glanced at his phone one last time. "Here goes nothing," he murmured, the knot of anticipation twisting in his stomach once more. He stepped outside, the morning air crisp and sharp, invigorating. Each step toward the car felt monumental, a movement toward the unknown where clarity could await or chaos could reign. Would he finally find his footing, or would the challenges ahead unravel everything he hoped to build for Mia? The question hung in the air like electric anticipation. James sat in his car, hands gripping the steering wheel. The sunlight poured in through the windshield, bathing the interior in warmth, but it did little to pierce through the chill of uncertainty racing through him. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of Mia's winning smile, of the joy they had shared earlier in the morning. She believed in him. Now it was time he believed in himself. He made his way to the corporate headquarters, thoughts swirling like the leaves caught in the brisk autumn air. This wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about proving that he was more than just a janitor, more than just the man sweeping floors and invisible to all but his daughter. Today, he would stand up for himself, and for Mia, and show that he could be a hero in his own right. As he entered the lobby, the echo of his shoes against the marble floors filled the space. The sound felt different today. Each step resonated with purpose. He exchanged his usual nods with the security staff, but today they seemed brighter, less dismissive. Maybe they sensed the shift inside him, the confidence flickering like a flame eager to burn brighter. He arrived at Mr. Blake's office door. It stood tall and imposing, reflective of the man inside. A quick knock and an invitation to enter. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. "Ah, James," Mr. Blake greeted, his voice smooth but laced with condescension. "I hope you're ready to discuss our upcoming projects." The arrogance dripped from him like rain from a rooftop. "I'm ready," James said, surprising even himself with the firmness of his voice. He took a seat, unwilling to shrink back this time. "But I think we need to talk about the culture of this company." Mr. Blake raised an eyebrow, disbelief dancing in his eyes. "The culture?" He scoffed. "And what would you know about it?" James steadied himself, feeling the eyes of centuries of undervaluation rest heavily on him. "More than you think," he replied, a fire igniting within. "You see me as just the janitor, but I'm also a father who inspires my daughter every day to believe in herself. And I want to inspire others here. It's not just about the glass ceilings, it's about lifting each other up." Mr. Blake shifted uncomfortably, his composure wavering. For the first time, James detected a crack in the facade. "That's all well and good, James, but we have standards that often silence people like me," he interjected. "I played in the tournament the other day, and I realized that winning wasn't just about keeping the score. It's about fighting through the odds. And it's about creating an environment where everyone has a chance to shine." The room fell silent. James could feel the energy shift, could almost see the gears turning in Mr. Blake's mind. Would he take this challenge, or continue to push against the winds of change? "Perhaps I haven't given enough thought to how we can better support our team," Mr. Blake finally said, his voice low. "What do you propose?" Feeling bold, James leaned in. "Let's create opportunities for everyone. Mentorship programs, workshops allow us to share our skills outside of our titles. We're more than just our jobs." Mr. Blake surveyed him closely, searching for weaknesses. But James held his ground, confidence swelling to meet the gaze of the man who had once looked down upon him. "Very well, James," Mr. Blake relented, albeit begrudgingly. "Let's see where this takes us." The weight that had settled in James's chest began to lift. He held on to that lightness, fueled by the hope and promise of change not just for himself, but for Mia and the other employees who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. As he exited the office, his heart raced, not with fear, but with exhilaration. He had done it. He had faced the giant and lived to tell the tale. It felt like scoring the game-winning point in a tie that had seemed impossible. Each step back through the lobby carried the echoes of his triumph, a reminder that real battles were fought not only with skill but with courage. Later, as he drove back home, the sun began to set, painting the sky with vibrant oranges and purples, a masterpiece in motion. James couldn't stop smiling. Mia would be proud. He envisioned sharing this victory with her, enveloping her in the warmth of his newly forged resolve. When he arrived home, he found Mia in the living room, a mess of books sprawled around her as she traced her fingers over various scores on a tennis match. "Dad! You won, didn't you?" she exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. He knelt beside her, taking a beat to catch his breath before responding. "I didn't just win today, Mia. I made a difference." Her face lit up, reflecting back every bit of hope and belief she had showered him with. "That's amazing, Dad. You really are a superhero." James chuckled, pulling her into a tight hug. "Thanks, kiddo. But remember, it's not really about being a superhero. It's about believing in ourselves enough to make a change together." As she snuggled against him, he felt something powerful stirring. Today marked a new beginning. It was a step toward a future where they would both strive without fear, shoulder to shoulder, proving that dreams were worth believing in. With renewed hope and endless possibilities ahead of them, they nestled into the evening, laughter echoing in their home like music playing softly into the night, illuminating the path for all that was yet to come. This is more than just a call for support, this is your moment to stand with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that can transform lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others discover this journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, and don't wait not even one more second to share. Join us in making a difference together.